Hey, it's Sam Portland and welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to talk you through the number one thing that strength and conditioning coaches hate me saying, but it's absolutely true, and it is really important to you because it's going to show you the reason why probably a lot of the strength training that you are doing is not helping you on the field. And if you are an American football player, soccer player, lacrosse player, rugby player, and you are training for that sport in the gym, you'll probably want one thing out of it, and that is speed. And that is what I'm known for. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Sam Portland, the creator of the Sport Speed System, and I have helped hundreds of athletes and consulted with dozens of coaches all over the world and worked with Premiership Rugby, Premiership Football, International Rugby, NFL, Sevens, Olympians, many other different sports that all need this number one thing, speed. And this is what I use with them. And I'm going to show you why it's so important. And then you're probably going to realize why most coaches hate me for saying this. But today it's about you, your improvement and your attention. So if you give me a couple more minutes, I'm going to explain this to you. So the number one thing, you're probably lifting weights all year round. That shouldn't be the case. Now let me explain something to you. In the order of preparation, I'm going to show you right here in a minute, but in the order of preparation, weight training serves as a most general tool, which means it's general strength. So if you think of every sport on the planet, they all sit at the bottom, okay? Weight training sits at the bottom of the most important things to do for that sport. If we've got playing games and then practicing for games, then weight training is definitely at the bottom. So it's so general in nature. So if you're doing that all year round, it's really not serving you. And if you have been weight training for a good couple of years, you've probably reached that early peak and seen some really good gains. And then you probably find yourself thinking, why am I not feeling as strong, explosive, powerful on the field like I did when I first started? Now, let me just take a minute and ask you, if you comment system on this video, I'm going to email you a blueprint that outlines the step-by-step process of how you actually build team sport sprinters like you. So if you comment system, I'll get you that link and we'll get it emailed over to you. So that's the first thing, understanding that weight training is really basic, really general. Every sport does it, so why is it actually going to help you? Okay, really start to think about that, because it doesn't. A lot of my athletes they do it, but they don't do it all the time. We encourage many other different things. So number two, the second most important thing is actually understanding the negative effects of weight training. So yes, we've talked about that early rise and those early improvements that you will get from weight training. You've got a new PB, you're great, you feel good, you've got confidence on the field. That's a huge part of it. But actually what happens over time is that your performance will start to decline. Okay, and this is the thing that they hate me saying, is that it becomes a lack of what we call specialization. Because let me tell you this, if you want to keep improving your squat, for example, and you play sport, you're eventually going to have to stop playing sport to keep improving your squat and become a powerlifter. So there's a really important tipping point of where we need to stop using these tools to help train something that it no longer does. So that's one of the negative effects. And there are some really simple numbers that you can work with that. And here's the simple way of doing it, is if you have increased your squat by 2 to 4%, that's really, really good. Then you need to start converting that into power and seeing if that's going to move your broad jump. Is your squat helping your broad jump? And is your broad jump improving your acceleration and change of direction? A lot of times we see that people will put 15, 20% on their squat and it doesn't actually do anything and they end up injured. Maybe that's you. Maybe that's been one of your athletes. So I also want you to understand that strength, as we know it, only adapts to the context of which it's created. So being strong in a squat doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to possess the strength to accelerate, or possess the strength in a rugby tackle, or possess the strength in any specific task of the sport. you will be very strong in a squat, and then you hope that it transfers to the field, and that is not the case. And also, if you keep driving up this strength, another negative effect is that it will actually detrain your innate explosive abilities. It will actually slow your body down. And if we are really homing in here and talking about speed as the thing that we're going after, explosive game breaking speed that, you know, people turn heads, that you sign contracts from, you know, that really help, especially you as a coach, is the thing that you're going after, then you have to understand that things that we do at high volume and high frequency, you can lift weights 4 or 5 times a week, no problem. Do not create things that you can't train at high volume and high frequency, like running as fast as you can, change the direction as fast as you can, and those volumes, because you just can't do it. Your body can't take it because it is so aggressive, it is so potent. That's why you'll only train a couple of times a week, because you need to recover and play once on the weekend. Otherwise, you would do it all the time, because that's the most important part of the game, is playing the game and preparing for the game. And then also from coaches, and they'll probably hate me saying this, but I've been caught in this problem as well. There's lack of planning, lack of structure, and lack of organization. So I'm going to show you this graph here on the board that I've put together, and it just shows a very simple outline of a season in a field sport. We will have an off-season period, a pre-season period, and an in-season period. And on this side here, we're looking at kind of like the volume and intensity. And this first downward slope represents the general training. So that's your basic conditioning, some of your basic speed principle work, your weight training for the purpose of today, and everything that is the most furthest removed from your sport. And what we typically want to see is that in the periods, as a simple rule, the furthest away from the start of the season is when we do the most general things. We've just come off the season here, so we're going to have a break, and then this is where we start to look to do our off-season work. So that's when we'll do it. And you probably aren't in your club, you probably aren't doing team practices, so you can afford to do some of that work. Now, there is a multi-year approach to this, where you won't do the same off-season program in year 2 as you would in year 1. And if you are, then you definitely need to comment system on here, because I'm going to give you the breakdown of the sport speed system to show you how you need to start restructuring your training in order to maximize your speed gains and minimize injury, but also on-field performance. So definitely comment system here. And then what we see is that gradual drop off. So ultimately, by the time that we're halfway through pre-season, because as we come into here, there's an increase in on-field tactical demands, you're practicing and you're playing your sport, this has to take a back seat, because all of that work is taking up the volume that you've got available. And we're going to do more videos on this, so definitely let me know in the comments if you like this type of stuff, and I will do more of it for you, and even any thoughts that you have on this. And then we have this intersection period where we are completely dropping off with our general work as we're coming into the in-season. So what I am explicitly saying here is that when we are in season protocols, we shouldn't really be doing any weight training, or at a minimal, okay? Because what we are trying to do is increase specific training, all right? And what happens over time, these general training effects, okay, the general training effects will help us in order to maintain. So the good work that you do here will allow you to continue to do good work here. So once we start to understand why we need to do more specific training, sometimes what we see with a lot of training programs is that we will be continuing to try and do the same volume and intensity of general training here whilst we add in the sport, so playing the games and the training for their games, and using the physical of that. And we just don't have the space. That's why everyone gets tired and burnt out, and especially in UK, in rugby, where you're playing 28 games a season, for example, maximizing freshness is really important. So you need to remove the most general thing and replace that with more specific training. So as a general rule, good 2/3 of your whole in-season period, it should be focused on recovering and preparing to play the game. The second, we split the final third in two essentially, because our physical specific training, so we would replace a squat for a resisted sled run, or variants of that, and I can do another video breaking all that down for you, so do let me know in the comments if you want that. We then are actually training, because we've got to get the tactics right, we've got to get the performance right, we've got to win the game. That's the most important part. So when we think of it this way, it makes perfect sense that we don't actually have any time available. And if you're professional, you're only going to be doing a few weight training sessions a week. And if you're amateur as well, like I spent most of my time playing semi-professional in the UK, that you do 45 minutes of the gym work before an hour and a half of rugby. So you've got to really maximize that time, and we call that physical preparation, that allows us to perform specific sport preparation to play our sport. So if you like that video and want to learn more about how I have developed the Sport Speed system to develop team sport sprinters, then do comment system on this video and I will break that down for you, send it to you, and you'll have something to go to work with straight away. And if you are new to the channel, thank you so much for watching it this far. I would love for you to just hit subscribe on this account and go on this speed geek journey with me, so we can build some speed freaks. So for now, I'm Sam Portland. Stay tuned for the next video. Thanks.